All right, now, let's hear some comments from former USDA farm and crop loss adjuster. And that would be Rosalind Peterson. Rosalind Peterson.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for being here today. My name is Rosalind Peterson, and I was born and raised on a working farm in Mendocino County. I have worked for the Mendocino County Agricultural Department and the United States Department of Agriculture in California, and part of that time was spent as a crop loss adjuster, determining weather-related crop losses in the state of California, along with a lot of others as well. What I want to say, and one of the most important issues facing us, is that we depend on our food supply. We depend on our crops. And one of the things that we are seeing now, and one of the most important items, is we are seeing man-made cloud cover in our skies, reducing photosynthesis, which is needed for all plants and trees to grow healthy and strong, to increase crop production. Without that, and with this man-made cloud cover that we're seeing in our skies, we are having reduced crop production and other issues. What happens with the man-made cloud cover, if you want to really look at it from some perspective, you can see that solar panel power production is also reduced when you have this type of cloud cover. The jets, and our government admits this without faltering, the jets change our climate, they change local weather conditions, and they change the microclimates we need for crop production in the United States. These changes are imperiling our food supply. And without putting a stop to some of this so that we get direct sunlight coming through to add to our crop production, the vitamin D that we get through our skin, we're going to be in lots of trouble. And right now, rickets is an epidemic in the United States. The CDC, University of California, Berkeley, Kaiser Permanente all admit that this is on the increase. And everywhere you go, people talk about a lack of vitamin D. Well, we used to get vitamin D because direct sunlight would hit us. The other thing that I want you to know is that anyone can modify your weather, change your climate, conduct a weather modification experiment without your consent or knowledge. The jets do this now, all the time. And what we're finding is not only do we have weather modification programs conducted by these jets, but we have weather modifications conducted by private citizens who can hire companies to modify your weather. If any of you have the money, you can hire a weather modification company in the United States to enhance the snow or the rainfall in your area. Any private company, any private corporation. In the state of California, there are at least 20 ongoing weather modification programs conducted by Pacific Gas and Electric Company, the City of Los Angeles, and many others. And this list is put out by NOAA every year so that anyone can look at how many square miles are being modified. I do want all of you to know that our atmospheric releases, our atmospheric experiments, our atmospheric testing are reducing the ozone layer. They're allowing higher levels of UV radiation to penetrate. And this is causing crop losses as well, because the higher UV radiation just crisps our crops. It makes this look like they had a frost and not a sunburn. And a lot of plants, and especially our crop production plants, broadleafs, are having trouble producing crops. In the Midwest, there's all kinds of problems from this as well. One of the things we have to mobilize and do, and I think that this is extremely important, is begin to look at aviation impacts on our environment, on our crop production, on human health, and other issues. And we have to realize that geoengineering experiments, which means introducing particles and chemicals into our atmosphere on a global scale. In other words, those programs have to come to an end, and they have to be talked about by everyone. Alan Buckman referred to cloud whitening experiment being funded by Bill Gates, which is going to happen at some unspecified date in Moss Landing. The particles they intend to use are salt particles, and when these rain out over your land areas, they're going to pollute your soil, your water, everything. And it's going to make crop production impossible if they conduct these kind of experiments. We all can say no to these geoengineering experiments. We all can start to talk about the impacts of jet fuel emissions, aviation problems that we need to address because they reduce the atmospheric ozone and let harmful UVA, B, and C radiation through. So all of us have a consequence that we may not be aware of. And it is important for all of us to join together and to put a stop to these programs and to hold public discussions on them for as much as possible. In closing, I want to say that when I was a keynote speaker at the United Nations in 2007, I put up a gigantic picture of an expanded jet contrail up on the screen. And the people there were shocked. They had no idea of the impact that this kind of activity was having on crop production and in other areas. And I want all of you to know that it's important that we realize that this is not normal and natural, that these are programs, experimental programs that are being conducted at this time, and we all have to stand up and say no. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to come.